Hello and good evening to all of you. Blessings tonight. Thank you so much for all of you that are tuning in this evening to this Instagram Live. I hope that you are all prepared for a wonderful, magnificent conversation that I'm going to have this evening with a wonderful soul, Stephan Labossiere, and he'll be coming on screen with me now at any moment. Let me just wait for so many of you to tune in tonight. Hello once again, blessings to all of you. This is going to be a spectacular conversation. It is really the first time that I'm actually having a man's point of view with regards to couples and health, sexual health also, and sexual connection. Thank you so much for joining us today. So let's see, I'm going to send Stephan. Okay, let's wait for him to come on screen with me here. And I hope you guys are ready for the conversation. I know for sure that most likely we'll be able to be taking questions on screen with me now. Hi, Stephan, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How are you doing?
Okay, I'm feeling fine. How about you?
I'm doing well.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, yes, I feel honored and humbled that you are so available to be able to do this talk with me tonight. Hello to all of you. Hello to all of you coming on in. Blessings. And I would love for you, Stephan, to tell everyone a bit about yourself. I do want to tell everyone how we actually met, first of all. Was it last year or the year before that
I
we met
believe
PGA?
it was the year before last year.
It was, okay, so it was 2018.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So for all of you that maybe attended the Black Girl Health Wellness Expo that was in DC in 2018, Stephan, I, and Vivica Fox were actually guest speakers at that fabulous, magnificent expo. And that is where I met Stephan and the gentlemen that were also traveling with him from the Roommates podcast and such. And I actually loved all of the information that he said on the talk show that they had on BGH Live that you were speaking, Stephan. So tell them more about yourself. He's an amazing author. He is a renowned relationship coach. I have all of your books, as you know. And we will be talking a bit about one of my favorites. I'm sure that many of you out there that have read Stephan's book must have a couple of them that are your favorites. But I know that it's one that you really haven't touched upon too much. And for me, it is my favorite. And it's the How to Get a Man to Cherish You. But please go ahead and say hello to all your fans out there so they can know a little bit more about you.
So, hello to everybody. Thank you guys for joining in tonight. For those of you who don't know me, Stephan Labossiere is my full name. Stephan Speaks is my social media name. I'm a certified life relationship coach. I've been doing this for like 10 years now, 10 books and counting. And I'm just all about helping people with their relationships. And as you mentioned, books like How to Get a Man to Cherish You and many others.
Wonderful, magnificent. And Labossiere is from what country are you? It's French, of course.
It's a French last name. My nationality is Haitian.
Then we're definitely from the same island, as I am Dominican. I was born here, but I am Dominican. So beautiful, Labossiere. I speak French as well, so we'll have a little chat in French afterwards too. Okay, wonderful. So I'm so happy that you are coming in because, again, it's the first time that I am able to bring a man's point of view with regards to sexual connection and couples. So I do want to go into the book and also bring in some of the aspects of the book and some of my favorite chapters with a beginning kind of question. And I do a lot of the talks that I do with regards to couples and sexual health and sexual connection do revolve around both male and female. But I'd love this to be very much geared towards the men. And so let's begin this way and let me know what you think about it with this question. And I want to divide it into 4 parts because this also resonates with a lot of what you do in your coaching and what I've heard you speak about. What do you think men tend to not share with their partners that you actually believe stops them from having a healthy sexual relationship? So with that question, I do want us to break it down into what they may be blocking spiritually, physically, emotionally, and mentally. The floor is yours. Tell me.
I think physically, a lot of men do not expose all their deepest sexual desires with their partners. And so there it may be a fear of she'll reject it or she may judge him for it. Also, there are some men who buy into the Madonna complex. And for those who don't understand what that is, it's essentially where they view their wife, their partner, as this woman on a pedestal that I can't do these freaky sexual things to, but I still have these desires. And so these men tend to then go seek out satisfaction outside of the relationship to satisfy those specific desires. And it may not be that the woman wouldn't do it if she knew, is that he views it as I should not be doing that with my partner. She's too good for that, so to speak. So I do think from a physical standpoint, not exposing all of their true sexual desires is a big problem. From an emotional standpoint, I feel men are not exposing just their full vulnerability, just really showing their softer or weaker moments. Because again, the experience from a lot of men have been that when you do that, this woman will throw it back in your face. She's going to look down on you. You're going to lose her respect. So a lot of men try to be as tough as possible in front of their partner, but they're hurting on the inside. And that creates a disconnect in the relationship. So you said spiritually, you said sexually, you said physically,
Spiritually, so
emotionally.
spiritually, physically, right? Emotionally and mentally. You did physically and emotionally. So we need spiritually what they could be holding back from their partners, and then mentally.
I will honestly say I don't think men understand what they're holding back spiritually. So I don't even think they're fully aware and conscious, because I believe that a lot of men aren't as in tune with their spirit as they need to be. So they don't fully understand what's going on there. But I would say without them realizing it, they're holding back. So let me say this: sex is a very spiritual experience, not just physical. And for real lovemaking, for explosive, amazing sex, you got to really pour all of yourself into that moment. And so when you are not in tune spiritually and you don't know how to essentially transfer your energy into that woman, you're holding that back and you are limiting the satisfaction of that experience. So I think when a man starts to understand how that works spiritually and the transfer of energy in sex, like you literally can I'm trying to find the right way to explain this. If you know how to master your energy and your spirit, there you can really get in tune with that woman and her body in that moment and elevate the satisfaction of the experience. So I think that men just don't understand that concept. They don't grasp it. And it's not to their fault, because I don't think people really talk about it. I don't think people even in general are fully aware of it. But I think without realizing it, that's what they're holding back spiritually. And then mentally, I'm not sure. Mentally, because again, I think when it comes to sex, if anything, that's the one part that men really aren't worried about in the sexual experience, is the mental aspect of it all, so I guess I would say just being transparent with their thoughts, how they're feeling, what they're thinking. So because in transparency, we can again elevate the experience. So I think that might be what they're holding back in that sense.
I love, love, love the way that you explain that. So I want to touch upon what you first said with regards to the physical. So they're holding back, for many, for example, maybe holding back from expressing that they want to try new things. I have dealt with this when it comes to patients and couples in my office. And let me know how you feel about it. And that's why I want to talk about your book, Cherish, because I'm talking about, for example, and I'll use one couple as a reference, where, for example, she was, Stephan, belittling him. She would degrade him, call him names, kind of making him feel worthless and such. And then obviously he's not able to respond the same. All of this coming out in the consultation, for example. And he's explaining to me that there's anger, there's resentment. I examine, I see issues with the liver when there's anger. I see issues with the kidneys, that means unresolved forgiveness. So obviously, that in a physical sense impedes him from being able to perform the same, losing an erection, for example, with a partner. And he explains to me that when he sees another beautiful woman in the street, he obtains an erection. That he may obtain one when things are good, but once then he, for example, penetrates her partner, then he, for example, may be losing the erection. And let me just make this a disclaimer. We pray that all of you here are over 18. I'm very blunt, just to protect ourselves, Stephan, right?
Yeah.
We must all be over 18 here tonight because I am very blunt when it comes to sexuality and just healing in general, and I feel it's too important for us to beat around the bush. So, having said that, how would you coach a couple through that? And I must say that some of the points that you stated in Cherish, I wanted to touch upon because it has to be where the woman has to change certain things about herself in the respect aspect, and I'll touch upon that, my favorite part in the book. But how would you coach a couple with that, him being affected in the physical sense, not being able to perform, and also not being able to feel comfortable with expressing that to his partner, that he wants to try new things? What do you tell them to do?
One, I would tell them they need to sit down and really get everything out on the table. I think too many people try to communicate bits and pieces of the issue they're facing or what they're resenting with their partner, but they're not addressing the overall full picture of the relationship. So we need to sit down, get everything out, write it out if necessary. And I think writing it out would be good. Both sides saying, okay, this is what I see as an issue. This is what I feel like I need from you, and vice versa. Now let's discuss how we're going to resolve each and one of those things. But also, I think, and this is especially important with men, I just was doing a podcast not too long ago, and I talked about how we neglect the need to pour into ourselves from a health perspective if we want to have a greater impact on our relationships, especially when it comes to sex. A lot of men are suffering in the bedroom because they don't understand that the poison they're putting inside of their body, the lack of care they have for their body, is deteriorating their abilities to perform. And even though, yes, this man may catch an erection with another woman because he doesn't have the emotional blockage with the stranger that he has with the woman at home, I still don't have confidence that he'll be able to maintain that with those new partners, because if your body is not in its right place, you are not going to have the energy, the stamina, the potency in your erection. It's going to die. So you've got to understand how to better take care of yourself. Men have to understand testosterone levels and how that impacts them. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what I would do with a couple is first address the emotional issues, address the concerns, but let's also look at some of the health things that we can adjust to create a better sexual experience.
Agreed. Brilliant. See, that's why I needed you here tonight. Thank you so much. Absolute brilliance. Because that's where I've had to obviously articles, just like you've written books and I've written articles with regards to impotence and so on. And one of the main reasons that men will have issues like erectile dysfunction is diet, of course, high in fat, low in fiber. So brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You're amazing. Wonderful. So I love to then touch upon what you said with regards to the transference of energy. I love how you put that. And I, as a spiritual woman, I very much believe in that. It's where we are energy, period. And if there is a blockage of emotions, that can stop one from performing. But when things are good, right? How do you, for example, walk a couple through flowing completely as far as sharing that connected energy? And then I'd like to add, or would love to know what you think about what I, for example, have touched upon with my patients as well. What do you tell them to do to have that abundance of transference of energy in the middle of it?
So, one, in a general sense, we have to learn how to become very vulnerable, completely vulnerable with each other. And in achieving true vulnerability, we will open up the gateways to our love flowing freely in and out from each other. So I think that's step one outside of the bedroom. I always say if you don't have a connection outside the bedroom, it's going to hinder your connection inside the bedroom. So you've got to make sure you're nurturing that relationship and you're establishing transparency and vulnerability outside of it. But once we are in the bedroom, I believe that the key is to stop thinking and just feel. Just immerse yourself into the moment. It's not about, I got to do this special move, I got to do that. Flow with your partner. Feel, but be aware. So you're still conscious in that you are learning. You are seeing when you touch her body this way, does her back arch? Does she clench you? Does she react in a way that shows you this feels good? Be aware of all those small triggers, but don't overthink. Just flow through the moment. And if anything, do not focus on you receiving pleasure, focus on giving pleasure. Because if both parties go into the sexual experience focused on pleasuring the other, then both will be satisfied. But if they come in, okay, if even one person is only focused on themselves, the sexual experience will never be as good as it could be. So you have to have both people surrendering to the moment and saying, it's all about me pleasing you. And trusting in that process, we will both get exactly what we need and then some.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love that. To be able to be vulnerable, I believe takes two to do that, in the sense that, and now is where I want to get into the book, the vulnerability part. Let me just say that. I have found in many consultations with my patients that I've had to talk some of the females through pulling back and not being so much in their masculine, so that their male partner can feel a safe space to be vulnerable. Have you found that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's wonderful. And that's where I want to touch upon now, where in your book, and ladies, once again, and gentlemen, How to Get a Man to Cherish You. That's the name of the book of Stephan's that we'll be addressing tonight. He has numerous more. I have all of them. And really, this one is the one that spoke to me the most. Why? Because it's also just a couple of the approaches that I've had to literally use with my patients. And I'll tell you another reason why I wanted to do this tonight, Stephan, is because in the last, I would say maybe 12 years that I've been in practice, and I've been in practice for 25, constantly pivoting with the changes of the times and constantly making natural medicine more of a nuance. But I've noticed them, and before I address the book, I would love to know if you concur, that in the past 12 years or so, the quality of my patients' relationships has determined the quality of their health. Literally. And I feel it's also because of the disconnect that we tend to experience. We're very connected virtually, But this was in a world where we still could touch each other easier and see each other easier and talk and hear voices on the phone and not just text. And I feel like when that wave came in of, let's say, online dating and things of that sort, my patients are feeling lonely even if they live with someone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been affecting them. And so touching upon that and a man feeling vulnerable, you have a chapter here that touches upon, and I'm putting it up, in how to get a man to cherish you. It's about women and their feminine energy. Just a moment. Oh, being supportive as well. Wait, no, respecting him and such. Hold on just a moment. What is feminine energy? Here we go. That is bonus chapter. Moment. My question about that. Okay, what is feminine energy? So as far as some of the ladies that I've been treating, very much in their masculine, let's say boss ladies and so on and so forth, to be able to teach them to, okay, they have to wear their bracelet on their leading hand when they're out in the business world so that they don't get eaten up alive, but then to be able to pull back, they're in the presence of their partner and be soft and alluring. Is that how a woman can then create that space for a man to be vulnerable? Because it's not easy for a man to be vulnerable. What do you think?
Absolutely. You have to learn how to master your energy. I think, one of the problems is that people have this mentality of letting the world dictate their energy to them. So I've seen memes and quotes that says, well, the same energy you give me, I'm giving you back. That's the wrong approach. You don't let people dictate to you. You dictate to people. That's how you master your energy. You come in and you determine, I'm going to be feminine or I'm going to be masculine when necessary. So one, you have to understand you are in control and it's not based off people. And you choose how you want to react. You choose if you want to be offended. You choose if you want to get upset. That is a choice you are making. Take control of your choices and choose wisely. But understand that, yes, when you come home to your man or when you're trying to have a relationship, here's the thing. If you want to be with a feminine man, then continue to be masculine. All right? If you actually desire that, so be it. But the reality is that the majority of women, if not all, if they're being honest with themselves, want a masculine man. And to attract and nurture a masculine man, you need feminine energy. And a lot of women have lost touch with it. They don't understand it. They view it as weakness instead of power. And it's the most power. I don't think women understand the length of the power that exists within feminine energy. You can take down nations with feminine energy if you know what you're doing. It is both amazing and dangerous at the same time. But women are just neglecting it and running from it, and they're shooting themselves in the foot. And that does create an environment where it becomes even harder for that man to be vulnerable with you.
Oh my God. Thank you for confirming everything that I've been sharing with ladies. Because it's really reverting back to, if we think of, for example, the Hollywood glam, to the feminine, beautiful icons such as Dorothy Dandridge, a most beautiful and very feminine African-American woman, actress, Marilyn Monroe, Sophia Loren, Elizabeth Taylor. And the woman that I find in today's day and age is a wonderful example of that old style glamour and that femininity is Dita Von Teese, for example. And so you've nailed it on the head. I love that. And really, it's when the woman pulls back, she's not so exhausted. It is exhausting for a woman to be in her masculine energy all the time.
Yeah.
It just is. And then you found that, I imagine, with your couples, they clash. They're constantly fighting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like two people trying to wear the pants in that moment. And I must say that I don't agree that we are all equal. I could understand a man and a woman being paid the same for the same job. That's different.
Mm-hmm.
However, we are not the same.
Yeah.
In spirituality, there's a yin and there's a yang. And there has to be a balance. You are external as a man, and I am internal. I am in touch with my feelings. While you are the thinker, I am the feeler. Do you agree?
I absolutely 100% agree. I've been telling people that for the longest. It's like, stop with all this equality stuff. It's all about balance. You know, balance is the key to it all. We are not even equal man to man, woman to woman. There are things that I can't do that the next man can, and vice versa. There's nothing wrong with that. Yes, we are equal value in God's eyes. We, as you stated, we should be getting paid equally at a job. We should have equal rights, absolutely. But as individuals, we are not equal beings, so to speak, in having all the same gifts. There are certain strengths I have, there are certain weaknesses, and vice versa. And when we embrace that, instead of fight it and learn how we can coexist with each other and balance each other out, we create the perfect union. And so people just don't seem to understand that. And again, some of that is just built in damage and hurt and pride that doesn't allow them to see it for what it is.
You're brilliant. Brilliant. I love that. Thank you. Magnificent. Magnificent. And I'll touch upon later on how that tends to actually affect even the physical. But you have in that chapter, again, everyone, I'm referring to Stephan's book, How to Get a Man to Cherish You. And in the chapter that speaks about feminine energy, you talk about break down your walls. It's up to you to identify the walls that you have up. Walls restrict your ability to love and receive love in your marriage or union if you're not married. And walls restrict your ability to give off the positive, loving, feminine energy that's so beneficial to you and your marriage. And if you could elaborate on that, because I feel that it benefits everyone in the household, even if there were children. I feel like the feminine is that radiating energy. I said that to many of my couples. But when you say break the walls down, how does a woman actually do that?
It all starts with healing from the past issues, the past hurts. Again, the walls. Here's the thing. A woman's true essence is to give and love. That is her natural desire. That is what naturally flows from her. And you need no further proof than looking at a woman's first love in her life. When a woman first has a relationship, minus a situation where the woman has already experienced trauma in her childhood, she is the most loving, the most vulnerable. She is pouring out. You almost have to fight yourself as a woman not to let everything out, because it just gushes out of you when you find that person you want to love. And then what happens is she gets hurt, because typically that first experience happens at a young age. Let's say high school. And the reality is that boys in high school are not mature enough and ready enough to handle that woman's love, period. So now he will mess up, she will be hurt, and she will now tell herself, I will not let that happen to me again. Now the walls go up. Now she is restricting her true self, all right? And now she's convincing herself she's not the loving, overflowing feminine woman, but you are. And that's why, like, you'll meet a lot of women, and I say, I bet when you were younger, you were more vibrant. You laughed more. You smiled more. You were happier. And they're like, yeah. I said, okay, get back to that. That's who you need to be again. That's your real true self. That's where your feminine energy resides. And you get that back out by healing and really resolving all that trauma, all that hurt, all that disappointment. The walls will now come down, and you will now start to live a higher quality of life.
Beautiful. And then she can feel like she can be vulnerable with him.
Yes. And understand that her need to be vulnerable isn't even just for him. It's for your own peace. As you mentioned earlier, it is tiring to walk in your masculine as a woman. It is stress, not just mental, physically. It is deteriorating women. A lot of women who develop cancer, if you look into their lives, their emotional state is not healthy. They have been holding on to emotional stress for years, and it manifests into these cancers. And someone once said to me, it's interesting that the cancer for women always hits the most feminine of parts. Breast cancer, yes, ovarian cancer, because it's almost like your masculine energy is killing off your feminine self. and it's completely throwing your body off. And now you are going to suffer consequences. So for your own peace and happiness, you need to let the walls down, be vulnerable, love fully, and then yes, it will also benefit the man that you will end up being with and who's best for you.
One magnificent. You literally touched upon one of the main reasons exactly why women tend to develop these abnormal cell walls in those specific weak tissues. The weakest tissues of the bodies are the reproductive system. In my book, I wrote about that. There's a chapter where I talk about how emotions affect the body physically. And that wall, what we see in holistic medicine, is that unconsciousness thought emotion, where she wants to numb her feelings. And so when we do that, the subconscious actually listens to the body, and then the body creates a wall of abnormal cells, whether it's in the ovaries, in the uterus, in the breast. You're absolutely right. Beautiful. Brilliant. Thank you. Excellent. Thank you. So one of the ways that I also talk to my patients with regards to showing each other respect is for them to understand that if we're dealing with, for example, issues of the loins, we know in holistic medicine that the kidneys deal with unresolved forgiveness and fear. So I have to delve in to find out if there's some underlying fear issues that that's causing that disconnect between the couple and then not allowing them to express themselves sexually, or if there's some underlying unresolved forgiveness issues because there's underlying resentment. Have you found that that has been an issue where maybe fear and unresolved forgiveness are those two main emotions and thought emotions that are preventing couples from connecting in a healthy sexual manner?
Absolutely, because in order to heal, you must forgive. And a lot of people have not embraced that aspect of it. And not only just as far as forgiving the other person, because I do think a lot of people have forgiven the person, but they haven't forgiven themselves. So still there is blockage due to a lack of full forgiveness overall in their life. And that holding on to that hurt and holding on to that negative energy only creates more fear. So yes, the fear and the lack of forgiveness will now start to reside in their spirit, reside in their body, and start to manifest into all kinds of issues. So it's definitely one of the biggest problems. And in reality, when it comes to fear, the majority of the world is walking in fear. There's a great book by Napoleon Hill called Outwitting the Devil. And in the book, he says that he interviews the devil. Now, one can choose to believe if he's actually interviewing the devil or not, but still, it's an interesting book. And in it, he says that the devil says that he has 98% of the population under his control. And what he's saying is 98% of the population is operating under negative energy, fear, resentment, anger, envy, all of these negative things. And so with fear more specifically, you can't walk in fear and in faith. You can't say you're with God and you're moving in fear. It doesn't work that way. So when you have embraced fear so much in your life, you are disconnecting yourself from God. You are pulling further away from your spirit and the path you need to be walking on. So absolutely, fear is very prevalent in people's lives and is a huge problem that people need to overcome.
Fear, yes. And we need to understand that to be divine, we can't hold on to it. Absolutely. To live in a divine life, to live a divine life. Beautiful. I love that. In chapter 1, you touch upon, for example, the needs of a man. And again, for all of you that are listening, I really wanted to focus on this interview being from a man's perspective, a man's point of view. And you discuss, for example, here 7 specific things to keep that union positive between them in where she does what needs to be done so that she feels cherished. The 7 are: number 1, respect him; number 2, support him; number 3, nurture him; number 4, value him; 5, be transparent with him. I definitely want to delve there. Number 6, please him sexually. And number 7, stay physically attractive to him in capital letters, which is very specific. And I love that you pointed that out because, yes, I've come across, the cases where, well, I like to look good when I go to work, but then she's wearing sweatpants with holes in them with her husband at home. So I agree with that. So obviously, without giving away all of the golden nuggets of this amazing book that, one again, is one of my favorites, if you could just touch upon each aspect that will enhance the healthy sexual connection between a couple, I'd love for you to do that, with number 1 being respect.
All right, so you're gonna name each one, and I'm gonna give my 2 cents for each one.
Yes, okay.
So, respect him. So here's a thing that recently dawned on me. I have to say that I do not believe a relationship can succeed in the long run if the woman doesn't in some way look up to the man. And what I mean by look up to him is you hold him in high regard. You revere him. You have this level of respect for him. What's happening right now is a lot of women are starting off the relationship with a man they don't really respect like that. They don't regard him highly. They view themselves as greater than him. All right? And they think from an emotional standpoint that will protect them. That somehow, because they hold more value, well, he will appreciate me more. He won't do me wrong. I have the upper hand, so to speak. But she does not realize that her ability to pour into him and love him has been completely compromised from the start because you don't view him that way. And even if you are successful in building him up, which is extremely rare, but let's just say you are, there will still be a part of you that feels like I made him. He's not his own man. I'm responsible for his growth. I'm responsible for his success. So therefore, you still won't respect him the way that he will need. So you've got to be very careful as a woman to make sure you do not try to have a relationship with a man you do not respect. And then from there, you have to maintain the respect because respect is extremely important to a man. And the reality is this: if you don't respect him, you won't be able to love him. Period. So that has to be there. All right, what's number 2?
Okay, wonderful. I love that. That plays into when the woman belittles him and calls him names and such, and that just destroys that sexual health connection there between them. Brilliant. Okay, I get that.
And you know what? And just to say real quick, from the sex perspective, that's another huge piece of it. If you don't, what makes the sexual dynamic work is the balance of masculine and feminine energy. And respect plays into that. So if you don't respect him, your ability to be in tune with him sexually and for you guys to have a heightened sexual experience is, again, compromised completely. All right? And soon, the energy from that experience will be deteriorated and it will go away. So even from a sexual perspective, you've got to have that respect and you've got to have a man that you view is masculine enough for you.
Agreed. Beautiful. Agreed. As a lady, I agree. Absolutely. All right. Number 2, support.
Support. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think support is something that doesn't get talked about enough. If you don't believe in your man, why are you with him?
But how does that, and I'm so sorry to interrupt you, because you just said a moment ago, if she's supporting him and she feels that she had something to do with his growth, that then later on she's going to feel that she made him. So what's that delicate balance between support him and not making him?
There's a difference between making him and elevating him. Making
yes.
him is taking what, again, you felt was beneath you, whether you consciously or subconsciously think it is there somewhere where you think you are greater than him. So you have to now lift him up to this level that you want him to be at and hope to build him up. That is making him. He is not a man yet. You're trying to turn him into a man. Elevating him is he's already a man. His foundation is there. He has shown an ability to stand on his own 2 feet. But now you become the upgrade. You are now able to push him to even higher levels because man and woman together, again, is such a powerful union. And when two people who belong together come together, they can do amazing things. So in elevation, she's not going to lose respect for him because she knows he was a man before her. But when he's not a man before you, no, we got a problem, big time. So that's the difference between supporting and what we talked about earlier. So you still have to support him in continuous growth, continuous elevations, things of that nature. But you are not supposed to support in the sense of making him into a man. Let him figure that out on his own.
Mm-hmm. And just to add to that, let me ask, you feel that that creates resentments in women?
Absolutely. It creates resentment. One, in most cases, when a woman attempts to build up a man, she does not get proper return on investment. Let's just be real. Most women who take on the project do not get what they want out of it. And then others build him up only to see him move on to another woman because you were never the woman he would have ever chose at his best. You were the come up. You were the stabilizer in his life. And now that he's reached a higher level, he wants what he always wanted. Because people will always say, oh, these men become successful and they switch up. He didn't switch up. He showed his true colors. He just couldn't afford to get what he wanted before. It's like the guy who always wanted a BMW, but he can't afford one. So he buys himself a cheap, small car. But the minute he gets real money, he's getting that BMW. That's what he always wanted. So most women will not get the return on the investment. They will see somebody else benefit from it. Or, again, even if you build him up, your ability to still view him as his own man is damaged. It's completely destroyed because you know you are responsible for where he is right now.
Love that. Makes absolute sense. Yes, makes absolute sense. Beautiful. Wonderful. Okay. This is exciting. Number 3, nurture him.
Nurture him. So yeah, that really plays into the feminine energy and knowing how to pour into him, love him. A lot of women use the term stroking his ego. And for whatever reason, whenever we speak of stroking his ego for a man, they make it into a bad thing. But the reality is that everyone wants to be uplifted. Everyone wants to be complimented. Everyone wants to feel valued and loved. So we can't look at the stroking of the ego, and let's not even call it that. Just pour into your partner love and positive energy. That's the nurturing part of it. You know what I'm saying? And I know some women hate to hear it, but be his peace. That's a real thing. Like, you have to be his peace. If he has to be elsewhere, that's a problem.
Yes, we should, and I have to just admit that we are internal beings, and you're absolutely right. But we need to be each other's peace and not want drama as well.
Yes.
I found with a lot of my female patients that it's beginning a lot of drama and getting into, I have to make my point, I have to make my point, but I'm right. And instead of just walking away from the moment, I mean, again, that's where spirituality, I really feel that a spiritual practice is so important, to be able to have us be grounded and have us be peaceful and calm. And be his peace is the perfect phrase, I would say, because that way then she can also be peace.
Exactly. And that's the key. You need to be peace already. As a woman, your happiness is in your peace and your ability to just love and live your life. Start with that. It's not even just about the man, but yes, that's going to make you a huge asset to a man. When you are someone who can be peace, when we have our moments of crazy, you know how to calm us down. You know how to get us right. That's what we need, that stabilizer of love and positive energy in our life.
Yes, and that's when I then have to tell them, you need to pray and meditate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, that was number 3. Number 4, value him.
Yes, so a lot of women don't understand the need to show their man that they desire and value him. And so one thing I have to mention, there is what I have to say it like this, even though people ain't gonna like it. So there is a very toxic mentality, I believe, out there. This is especially popular among spiritual women of God. It's this whole mentality of I am the prize. We are the prize. As the woman, we are the prize. And that is wrong. You are both the prize. You are both to be cherished, valued, respected, loved. If you think it's all about you, you are not going to have a successful relationship. All right? You are both a blessing. You talk to any woman who got a good man in her life, and she will tell you he's a blessing. That's an amazing thing to have. Same thing for a man. He will recognize her as a blessing. Stop making it about it's just about us, just about me. That's what creates this selfish attitude that doesn't allow two people to truly come together. So you've got to be willing to embrace the value of your partner, of your man, and show him that you desire him as well. It's not just about you.
Agreed. Beautiful. It has to be both. Absolutely. Absolutely. Love that. Number 5, be transparent with him. And this, I don't believe in lying. I've made a vow in spiritual practice that we cannot speak anything that is not true. We only speak truth. And so it's sad that too many people find it so easy to lie. What do you mean exactly by be transparent?
So with transparency, I think one of the greatest frustrations men have with women is a lot of women's inability to clearly express their feelings, their concerns, their thoughts. Women tend to speak in a very coded manner, and women expect the man to read them and pick up on what the real answer is. It's kind of like there was a meme that was going around a couple weeks ago that said, if you ask me if I want anything from the store and I tell you no, and you come home with nothing, you ain't the man for me. It was something like that. So it's like, okay,
oh, that's horrible.
yeah, like he's supposed to be
Be
able,
blunt.
he's supposed to be able to read your mind and know that even when you say this, you mean that. And that can become very frustrating. And what women don't understand is because every woman can be different in the way that they truly mean certain things, the man doesn't really know unless you first explain it to him. So if the last 5 girls he was with, when they told him, I don't want anything for my birthday, and he brought them a gift anyway, and they said to him, dang, I told you I didn't want anything, you're doing too much, blah, 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 blah. Now he thinks this is an issue. Now the new woman he meets says, I don't want something. She actually means, get me something. He doesn't know. And now we have a huge mess. And now you're mad at him. So this is what we're talking about with transparency. We can't with the codes. Women are great at reading someone. Men are not. Men need more direct communication. That is a difference in who we are. There is a difference in the genders. We have to accept that. Don't get me wrong. I still talk to men about learning how to read your woman, how to pick up on her body language, things of that nature. So I don't want men to solely rest on her being 100% clear and direct, but I still want to encourage the women to do that as much as possible, because that's going to eliminate the confusion and the disconnect that a lot of people are experiencing in their relationship.
I agreed. Absolutely. 1,000,000%. Absolutely. Um, it's sad that it's expected for that to happen. And the perfect example is treating a patient. When she first met him, she told him that she was allergic to strawberries. One Valentine's Day, he brings her chocolate strawberries, and she gets upset. Instead of noticing the act of the beautiful gift that he's bringing, they can't keep everything in their mind. You may have to remind them once in a while, I told her.
Exactly.
So that absolutely is it. Please, let's all be transparent. Yes, gentlemen too, but I know that we're getting this from the man's point of view, but beautiful. I love that. Love that. And number 6, which has to do with a lot of the health aspect that I also treat patients with, but I want you to tell them about number 6 is please him sexually. And that can mean so many things. So when you say that, what do you mean? Does she have to really do everything that he says? And what do you mean by that? Because I know a lot of women are probably asking themselves, well, maybe I don't do, and again, I hope everyone here is over 18, but if he wants to do that, that's a back door. I don't want to do it from the back door. I don't want to do it. I mean, these are some of the conversations I have with patients. So I need you to just help me out here with sharing some of this information. So what is number 6, please him sexually?
So I do think, like, I understand that some things may be crossing a line that's very uncomfortable for people. And I don't want people to force themselves to do something they don't like or that's going to be a real problem for them. However, I do think this is why we need to have deeper sexual discussions before we become intimate with someone. We need to learn and be transparent early on about what we're into, what we like, what's our level of experimentation, because some people are very conservative. Some people are, let's try any and everything. Let's talk about that early so we know what we're getting ourselves into. And that way, if we're not with it from the jump, then we just kill it right there. But aside from that, pleasing him sexually, as far as a lot of women do what they think should be done or what they want to do, but they're not really in tune with his desires, what he needs, how he likes it. And so I always say, if you ask a man what he wants and you're going to actually listen, he will give you the play-by-play rundown of everything he wants from you. He has no problem being transparent if you're going to actually embrace it and not take issue with it. You know, so you've got to be willing to learn your partner and find out what does he actually want. But then on another level, especially when we're talking about married couples, a lot of married couples are not having consistent sex. A lot of married couples are sexually unsatisfied. And so you can't neglect your partner sexually and expect a healthy, happy relationship. It's not going to work that way. Part of the reason, and this is especially for spiritual folks and even biblical folks, if you actually read the Bible, part of the purpose of marriage is to satisfy sexual desires. All right? I forgot which one it was Paul who says, like, so that we won't give into sexual immorality, have your wife, have your husband, and do not deny yourselves of your body to them so that you both can be satisfied. You know what I'm saying? So to now take away sexual satisfaction from a marriage and just say, oh, well, you're supposed to love me anyway, you're taking away a huge component to why we got in this situation to begin with. It's like I can be dedicated to you, you can be dedicated to me, and we can please each other.
Agreed. Again, 1,000,000%. Absolutely agree. Absolutely. I have come across my patients where they use that as a tool, but again, it has to be where she needs to feel that she's also cherished as well, if she's doing her part, and vice versa, so they can both respond to each other. Because a lot of what I deal with my patients is, well, she has frigidity, she's dealing with vaginal dryness, she's having this, but also if she doesn't feel aroused, she won't lubricate. So then he's belittling her because she's dry or she's already this age and so on, and then she's not responding the same, or she has also treated him badly and he doesn't respond to her. So absolutely, I agree with that. The sexual aspect has to be existing there, and it doesn't matter the age of the couple. Absolutely. Agreed. Thank you. Thank you. And then we have number 7. Okay, this is our last part. Okay, and I have something to add to probably what you said, but I'm really excited to hear what you mean by specifically number 7, stay physically attractive to, capital letters, him.
Yes. So
you cleared your throat for that one. I'm taking a sip of tea while you go ahead and answer that one.
Let me tell you.
Go right ahead.
I had to pray really hard if I should include this topic in the book, because I knew there were going to be a lot of women who would get triggered by this topic, because unfortunately, a lot of people want to hold this mentality of, If they love me, it shouldn't matter. Oh, we're all going to change and all this and that. And it's like, no, that's not the way this works. Physical
Agreed.
attraction is what allows us to have a romantic relationship. You remove physical attraction and you've gone from lovers to roommates, to play cousins,
Mm.
to anything but truly being able to connect on a sexual level. So you can't deny the physical attraction part. Yes, we will change, so to speak, but let's be honest with ourselves. Our change is not due to age, it is due to not taking care of ourselves, not understanding how to pour into our bodies. And even though, yes, there will come a point where we cannot escape a level of change through age, by that point, we would have established such a deep connection. Like, we would have been together for so long, it doesn't even matter. It will reach that point when we're both old and gray, and neither of us care about that. But for right now, we've got to do our best. And let me tell you, even the ones who are old and gray are still attracted to each other. So there's still a way to maintain attraction all the way through to the end of life. So we've got to make sure that we don't neglect that. We don't let ourselves go. And when I say remain attractive to him, because it's not about how social media wants you to look. It's not about how your girlfriends want you to look. It's about what he finds attractive, what's going to maintain the energy in your relationship. The reality is that people are getting married, letting themselves go. And again, they're not just changing, they're transforming into someone completely different, to where now, if you were this person before y'all got married, they would have never talked to you. All right? But now you expect them to still love you and want to be physical with you the same when the attraction's not there. And I hear a lot of women will say, well, he doesn't love me. Well, if you loved him, wouldn't you want to look good for him? And the reality also is that it's not that he doesn't love you, he's just not attracted to you anymore. And but the beautiful thing is, attraction is a controllable issue. We can do things to fix that. I remember one time I had a couple. She came to me. She came to me after the whole situation, but she explained to me how she gained like 100 pounds after marriage. All right, and her husband was very unhappy. And then what people don't realize is the lack of attraction then creates other issues, lack of respect, lack of attentiveness, communication, you name it. Because again, think about it. We treat people we're attracted to better than people we're not attracted to. And that's life in general. People who are more attractive get promoted faster, they get ahead further. That's just the way life is. But anyway, she gained 100 pounds. It killed the chemistry, killed the attraction. It led to them getting a divorce. After the divorce, or it led to them separating. In the separation, she finally gets pissed off and she goes on a weight loss journey. But she goes on a weight loss journey to get back at him, not to improve the situation, to say, you this is wrong, all right? Yeah. He loses the 100 pounds. What happens? He's attracted to her again. They end up having sex again. So now they're back to sex. And guess what? She goes and gains back 50 pounds after that. And then after that,
she needs me in her life. Send her to me. I'll help her.
It's crazy, but it just shows you how you can't neglect the physical attraction and think you're going to have a healthy relationship. It doesn't work that way. And yes, that applies to both men and women. The only difference, and here's the thing, I have to say this. Women love to say, oh, well, it doesn't matter to us. We wouldn't leave him. Okay, cool. You're right. A woman is less likely to leave for those reasons than a man. However, you'll stay with him, but you won't have sex with him as much. You won't love him the same. You won't be as affectionate. So you pretty much killed the relationship anyway. You don't get an award or a badge of honor for staying when it's still trash. That makes no sense. So either way, it is affecting you just as it's affecting him. And that is not healthy for either party.
Agreed. Oh, wonderful. Oh, we have 25 seconds left. You all know where to. Oh, this was amazing. We need to do a part two one of these days. We have to. Please. 10, 9. Okay, so you all know where to get Stephan. Oh, honey, mi amor. Thank you. This was an amazing talk, amazing conversation. 9, 8, 7. Let's say good night.